Oh, you may be seated. Thank you very much for the honor. Okay, so today's Haftarah is 2 Samuel 6:1 through 7:17. And I'm sure it's one we're probably all real familiar with, but it's the one where David's army, with Yahweh in the lead. That's a really important point. Yahweh was in the lead here. They had defeated the Philistines, and that was how they did it, because he was in the lead. So David, this is previous. So then David wants to bring the ark back. It's been in captivity. It's been away. Hasn't been where it's supposed to be amongst the Israelites. And he wants to bring it back to Jerusalem, to the city of David, and take it from the house of Abinadab. So it's placed on a new cart that's driven by the sons of Abinadab. So I'm going to go ahead and just read from the passage. So now David again gathered all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. He and all the people who were with him arose and set out from the Baal Judah to bring up from there the ark of God, which is called by the very name of Adonai Zebaot, who is enthroned between the cherubim. So they loaded the ark of God on a new cart, carried it out of the house of Abinadab that was on the hill. Uzzah and Ahio, Abinadab's sons, drove the new cart. Actually, I think they drove the oxen, because they were in front and behind. But as they brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill, with the ark of God, and Ahio was walking in front of the ark, meanwhile, David and the whole house of Israel were celebrating before Adonai with all kinds of instruments made of cypress wood, with harps, lyres, tambourines, three-stringed instruments, and cymbals. It was a very joyous occasion. But when they reached the threshing floor of Nahon, Uzzah reached out to the ark of God and grasped it, for the oxen had stumbled. Then the anger of Adonai was kindled against Uzzah. God struck him down there for his irreverence, so that he died there beside the ark of God. David was very upset because of Adonai's outburst against Uzzah. He said, God broke out against him. I don't know, that phrase just is something that kind of strikes me. That God broke out of his holy place, broke out of what was going on, the joyous celebration, but he broke out against Uzzah. That place is called Perez Uzzah to this day, which I guess is a mourning phrase. I didn't look it up. So David was frightened of Adonai that day, rightfully so, and he said, how can the ark of Adonai come to me? David was unwilling to move the ark to him, to the city of David. Instead, he diverted it to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite, who was a Levite. Important to know. So the ark of Adonai remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months. Meanwhile, Adonai blessed Obed-Edom and his entire household. I just want to make a right now, because obviously we had a similar incident in the Torah portion with Nadab, and Abihu. Yeah. And this one, I know it's puzzling, and I think that, we always have thought, he had good intent. He didn't want the ark to fall, he was trying to save. And in the same, Nadab and Abihu, they had just been sanctified and set apart. They had just gone through the 7 days of anointing and being set apart, and God came in his glory and revealed himself to all that were present there during that sanctification process. But on the 8th day, that very next day, when they entered in to do their service to God, God's glory was not revealed. God's glory was robbed from him because they did not follow the instruction. And that's just what really struck me so strongly about all of this was this is about his glory. He's a jealous God. He's very zealous to enforce that. And his glory was diminished in their sight because they just did not follow the pattern, the instruction that was given. They brought a strange fire before Yahweh. They did something that was rebellious in their heart. Because of it, he did not bless them, and they were struck dead. So that's why this portion's in there. I mean, this is why this is the Haftarah and how it relates. But we see the same thing. The same thing. It was then reported to King David, going back to the passage, that Adonai had blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that belongs to him because of the ark of God. So David went and brought the ark of God up from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with great joy. I think that at this point, because it says in the thing, when the bearers of the ark of Adonai had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed an ox and a fatling. I see in this, there's a difference this time. They figured it out. It was in the presence of the Levites who had the instruction and who knew how it was supposed to be done. And it was not ever supposed to have been on a cart. And I almost think God would have let that stand, almost, because I don't think that's why he struck Uzzah dead. It was because Uzzah then furthered the sin. I don't know. I'm not going to put myself in God's place. But at that point, he hadn't done it yet until Uzzah reached out to touch it. He diminished something about the ark, that it could be touched that way by somebody who was not authorized. And, I don't know, the sages say it would have taken care of itself because it had special powers. So I don't know. They like to ascribe a lot of things, and maybe so. But I just think that that's important to see, that this time they learned a lesson and they were bearing it properly, apparently. So, and made sacrifices and brought it along. And then David danced and spun around with abandon before Adonai, wearing a linen ritual vest, linen ephod. So David and the entire house of Israel brought up the ark of Adonai while shouting and with the sound of the shofar. But as the ark of Adonai entered the city of David, Saul's daughter, Michal, looked out of the window and saw King David leaping and dancing before Adonai. So she despised him in her heart. So it says that here, prior to, she was doing that while they were rejoicing, and God's glory was being revealed again. God's glory came down. They gave out offerings to everybody. David gave out raisin cakes and bread and meat to every person there to take home and to have a portion in this joyous event of the ark of God being restored to them. And his glory, once again, he brought it out and showed them, this is who I am. Here I am in your midst again. Here I am. And then David goes to his home to bring blessing to his own home. They set it in the right place. He offered more burnt offerings. Okay, I guess he did all this. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Distributed to the people, but he returned to bless his own household. But Saul's daughter, Michal, came out to meet him and said, how the king of Israel distinguished himself today when he uncovered himself today in the eyes of the slave girls of his subject, as any vulgar fellow would shamelessly uncover himself. It was before Adonai, David said to Michal, who chose me instead of your father and all his household, appointing me ruler over the people of Adonai, over Israel. So I danced before Adonai, and will dishonor myself even more than this, and will be low in my own eyes. Yet in the eyes of the slave girls whom you mentioned, I will be honored. So Saul's daughter, Michal, had no children to the day of her death. She received a curse upon her because she diminished God's appearance, God's glory being revealed. She brought in her own judgment upon this whole celebration. And so I don't know, I just, the term just, can we all get on the same page, please, because that's kind of how I saw it, is like God's like, can you get on the same page here? Come on, I'm blessing my people. I'm pouring out my presence. I'm letting you see who I am. I'm loving on you. And can't we all just join into that? Can't we be in that moment, in that midst, seeing the importance of revealing His glory? I'm not going to go into all of this part, because this goes into why David didn't get to build, right? Yeah. My focus was mainly just that understanding of the importance of knowing God's ways, of listening to the instruction, reading the instruction, really paying attention to it and letting it pierce our hearts, asking Him to write His instruction upon our hearts so that we know it in our inner being and it's there for us. It's the same thing that happened to Moses, isn't it? It was the same sin or the same thing that caused Moses not to enter the promised land. He diminished God's glory when he struck the rock that second time when he was supposed to speak to it. So here we have three really great men, great people, men in very high places who did the same thing. And God did not let them slide. He didn't. He did not let it slide. Why would He let it slide with us? So they were men with great responsibility, and they were being held to a very high standard. And we are too. If we really believe that we are the priest of Yahweh, we have that very high standard in our lives as well. And He's going to hold us to that high standard. No matter what we're doing, we are part of His family, His priesthood, His bride. And we are responsible for the holy things of Yahweh. And when I look in this room, I see each one of you are a holy thing of Yahweh. And to me, I think, I really feel that that's what we need to be responsible for, is how we are with the holy things of Yahweh. Are we treating them as holy? Are we revealing God's glory? Yeah, I was very touched this morning in our prayer time by Susie, because that was the prayer of her heart, was let us bring glory to you in everything we do today, Lord. You rest and let us glorify you. That was a beautiful prayer. It really was, because it was that heart and desire to bring glory to God. And I mean, we can sometimes hear those things and just think, oh, those are just words. But you know what? They weren't. They were from her heart. And I just saw that is the heart of God, that we bring glory to Him, that we don't diminish Him in any way by doing things on our own fashion, in our own way. And so He says, be holy because I am holy. So be set apart because He is. And I just think the question we can ask ourselves is His glory being revealed in my life? And that's it.